Hello everyone, let's explore generative AI agents in pharma commercial. Let's see how we can execute faster without compliance issues. Faster execution without compliance headaches. Pharma commercial teams are under pressure from every direction at the same time. Customers expect relevance and speed. Channels keep multiplying. Product portfolios are more complex. Data is messy and fragmented, and oversight is intense because one misstep in promotional content can trigger painful consequences. So the question is no longer whether generative AI will show up in commercial operations. It already is. The real question is how to use generative AI agents to move faster while staying inside the guardrails of compliance, privacy, and medical accuracy.
In this video, we're going to break down what generative AI agents look like in commercial execution. Not generic chatbots, but specialized agents that do work across segmentation, omnichannel content, CRM automation, field effectiveness, and medical legal regulatory review, often called MLR. We will talk about how these agents fit together into an operating model, what data and tools they need, and where the hard lines must be drawn so you get speed without creating risk. Let's start by clarifying what we mean by an agent in this context. A chatbot answers questions. An agent completes tasks. It can take a goal like build a segment-based campaign plan for cardiology accounts in the Northeast, pull information from approved sources, generate deliverables like call plans and compliant content drafts, and then route those deliverables through the right approvals. A good commercial agent does not invent claims. It does not improvise safety language. It does not decide what is promotional versus non-promotional. It works within a controlled system where content comes from approved libraries, claims are grounded in references, and every output has traceability. If you only remember one concept from this video, remember this. In pharma commercial, generative AI is valuable when it reduces decision friction and production bottlenecks, but it is only safe when it is constrained by evidence, policy, and workflow controls. That is what guardrails mean. Now let's walk through the domain, starting with segmentation, because segmentation is where commercial strategy becomes operational reality. In most organizations, segmentation gets stuck between data science teams, brand teams, and field leaders. You have different definitions of what a target account is, different data sources, and a lot of manual manipulation in spreadsheets. A segmentation agent changes the workflow by turning segmentation into a living, governed product. Here is what that agent actually does. It ingests approved data sources such as claims, feeds, prescription data, formulary status, HCP demographics, call activity, digital engagement, and local access constraints. Then it applies a predefined segmentation logic that the business has already approved. It produces segments with clear definitions like high potential but low adoption, or high access barriers with strong clinical fit, or stable adopters with low engagement. It also generates something humans often skip, which is a narrative explanation of why an account or an HCP is in a segment, including the key contributing signals. That explanation matters because it prevents the field from treating segmentation as a black box. A strong segmentation agent also handles what I call segment governance, and versions the segmentation logic, logs data sources and refresh dates, and flags when the data quality is poor enough that the segment might be unreliable. It can also simulate what happens when you change a threshold, so the brand team can see the impact before pushing a new segmentation into the field. That is the difference between segmentation as a static slide and segmentation as an operational system. Once segmentation is in place, the next domain is omnichannel content, which is where generative AI can create enormous leverage and also enormous risk if you do it wrong. The opportunity is obvious. Commercial teams need content in many formats, for many audiences, for many channels, at many stages of the customer journey. Emails, banner ads, field detail aids, social posts in markets where permitted, patient education materials, payer materials, and internal enablement. Most teams are constrained by creative capacity and MLR cycle times. An omnichannel content agent can help, but only if it is built on a compliant content supply chain. The heart of that supply chain is an approved claims and references library. Think of it as a structured set of building blocks. Each claim is tied to approved source evidence. Each has allowed and disallowed phrasing. Each has required safety statements. Each has market and audience constraints. Then the agent's job is not to write anything it wants. Its job is to assemble content from those blocks into channel-specific variants. For example, a brand team might need the same core message adapted for three personas: a cardiologist, a primary care physician, and a nurse practitioner, and then adapted again for an email, a banner, and a field detail slide. The content agent can produce drafts that keep the claim wording within approved ranges, automatically attach citations, and include mandatory fair balance language where required. It can also generate a change log showing exactly what differed between variants, so reviewers can focus on what changed rather than re-reviewing the whole piece from scratch. This is where guardrails become concrete. The agent should be prevented from generating new clinical claims. It should be prevented from changing the meaning of an approved claim through paraphrasing that introduces new implications. And it should be prevented from using external sources unless those sources are explicitly approved for that content type. In practice, that means the agent often operates in a retrieval first mode, where it must pull claims from a library and can only generate text that is anchored to those retrieved building blocks. Now, let's connect content to CRM automation. CRM is where commercial execution is measured and where most field teams spend time on low-value admin work. Logging calls, summarizing notes, planning follow-ups, selecting next steps, and updating account plans. A CRM copilot agent can compress that workload and improve quality, but it has to respect privacy and promotional compliance. A practical CRM agent will do things like this. After a rep logs an interaction or dictates notes, the agent summarizes the interaction into a structured format aligned to the CRM fields. It proposes follow-up tasks, like schedule a virtual detail, send an approved email, or request medical information support. It can recommend next best actions based on segmentation and business rules, but those actions should be suggestions, not automatic sends. It can also draft compliant follow-up messages using only approved content modules, then route those messages for review if required. A mature CRM agent also helps managers. It can create territory summaries, identify accounts that are drifting, detect coverage gaps, and prepare coaching insights. But again, guardrails matter. You do not want an agent making inferences that feel like surveillance or that violate internal policy. You want it to work with aggregated, role-appropriate views and transparent rules. Now let's talk about field effectiveness, because this is where organizations can either build trust in agents or create backlash. Field effectiveness is about improving what happens in the field: the right targets, the right message, the right timing, and the right support. The trap is to treat AI as a scoring machine that tells reps what to do. If you do that, adoption collapses. The better approach is to treat the agent as a preparation and learning partner. A field effectiveness agent can do pre-call planning in a way that is genuinely helpful. It can pull the account segment, recent engagement history, access context, and any relevant approved messaging themes. It can propose a call objective and 2 or 3 compliant talk tracks. It can also anticipate common objections for that segment and provide approved responses or recommend when to engage medical affairs. After the call, it can help with post-call reflection: what worked, what did not, and what the next logical step is. The most powerful part is that the agent can personalize within boundaries. Personalization in pharma cannot mean inventing claims or tailoring clinical messages beyond what is approved. It can mean choosing which approved messages are most relevant for a segment, selecting which case studies or visuals are permitted, and matching tone and length to the channel norms. That kind of personalization increases relevance without increasing risk. Now we get to the big bottleneck: MLR speed. MLR is not slow because people like being slow. It is slow because review is complex, content is inconsistent, references are hard to trace, and the same issues repeat. This is where an MLR acceleration agent can produce huge gains if you treat it as a reviewer assistant rather than a reviewer replacement. Here is what an MLR agent can safely do. It can pre-flight check content before it ever reaches reviewers. It can verify that every claim has a citation. It can detect off-label risk language based on predefined patterns and product labeling constraints. It can ensure fair balance placement for certain formats. It can check that safety statements are current. It can ensure that required disclaimers are present for the channel and market. It can compare a new piece to an approved predecessor and highlight only the changes. And it can generate a review packet that includes the content, the claim map, the references, and a checklist aligned to internal policies. This is a fundamental shift. Instead of reviewers spending time finding problems and chasing missing references, they start their review with a content package that is already structured, traceable, and consistent. That is how you compress cycle time without reducing rigor. You can also go one step further with an MLR routing agent. Not all content needs the same depth of review. Some content is a minor update to an approved asset, some is net new messaging, some is high risk. A routing agent can classify the content based on what changed and route it to the right level of review, or even fast track if it is strictly assembled from pre-approved modules with no new claims and no new imagery. This modular approach is one of the highest leverage strategies for speed in pharma content operations. Now let's step back and talk about what it takes to implement this as a system rather than a collection of pilots. You need three layers: an agent layer, a content and data layer, and a governance layer. In the content and data layer, the highest priority asset is the structured claims library. If your organization has claims scattered across decks and PDFs, the agent will either be limited or dangerous. You want claims in a structured format, each with references, allowed phrasing, required safety language, market and channel constraints, and expiration or review dates. Next, you need segmentation and customer data that is governed with clear definitions, and you need integrations into the actual tools people use: CRM, content management, MLR systems, and analytics platforms. In the agent layer, you build specialized agents with narrow responsibilities: segmentation agent, content assembly agent, CRM note and follow-up agent, field prep agent, MLR pre-flight agent, MLR routing agent, and ideally an orchestration agent that can coordinate them. For example, taking a campaign brief, calling the segmentation agent to define targets, calling the content agent to draft channel assets, then packaging everything for MLR pre-flight and routing. In the governance layer, you define permissions, approvals, and logging: who can request content, who can approve, what sources are allowed, what happens when the agent is uncertain, how do you handle updates to labeling or safety information, and how do you test agents before deployment. Now let's make this real with a simple end-to-end example. Suppose you are launching a new indication update for an existing product. The brand team writes a campaign brief. The orchestration agent ingests the brief, then calls the segmentation agent to identify accounts likely to have eligible patients based on approved data sources and access context. The segmentation agent produces target lists with explanations and confidence flags. The content assembly agent then generates channel variants, email sequences, banner copy, and a rep detail flow. But it does it by assembling pre-approved claims modules and only using allowed phrasing. It automatically attaches references and fair balance language where required. Next, the MLR pre-flight agent runs checks. It flags anything missing citations, anything that appears to imply off-label use, and anything that uses wording outside allowed phrasing. It generates a claim map and a delta report against the prior approved asset. The MLR routing agent then classifies the assets. The ones that are purely modular with minor layout changes go to fast track review. The ones with new combinations of claims go to standard review. Anything with new imagery or new messaging goes to full review. Once approved, the CRM agent pushes the right assets into the CRM content library and generates suggested next best actions for reps based on segment. But reps still choose what to do. In the field prep agent generates pre-call plans that include approved talk tracks and objection handling. After calls, the CRM agent drafts structured notes and follow-ups, and managers receive territory summaries and coaching insights. The outcome is not just more content. Now, a quick word about privacy and data ethics. Because commercial operations often touch sensitive information, the safest approach is role-based access and data minimization. Agents should only see what a user is allowed to see. Patient-level data should be avoided unless absolutely necessary and properly governed. Any use of third-party data should follow contracts and legal constraints, and you need clear policies for what the agent is allowed to infer or recommend. So where do you start if you want results in a quarter, not a year? Start with MLR pre-flight and modular content assembly. Those two capabilities unlock cycle time and reduce rework quickly. Then add CRM node automation and compliant follow-up drafting to save field time. Then mature segmentation governance and next best action recommendations. Finally, integrate everything into an orchestration workflow so campaigns run end to end with consistent traceability.
As you do this, keep the mindset that commercial agents are not a single tool. They are a controlled production system. The winners will be the companies that treat content and compliance like a supply chain, with standardized components, automated checks, and clear accountability. When you do it right, generative AI agents do not weaken guardrails. They make guardrails stronger because they operationalize policy into repeatable workflows. And that is the real promise. Faster execution, more relevant engagement, less admin burden, fewer review cycles, and a more compliant, more transparent process from campaign brief to field action. Thank you for watching.